Bonjour à tous et bienvenue dans ce nouvel épisode du Digital Download. Oops. Good afternoon, good morning, and good day, wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download, the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live, now globally syndicated on TuneIn Radio through IBGR, the world's #1 business talk, news, and strategy radio network. Today on the Digital Download, we are tackling the most frustrating question in sales. Why am I working so hard but getting no results? For this very special edition, I'm joined by Tim Hughes and Adam Gray to discuss why the way you are working hard is most probably the problem. In a totally virtual world, your buyers are not responding to your hard work. They're responding to your value. We will explore how to shift from being busy to being effective, moving beyond superficial interactions to build something that actually scales trust. But before we kick off the discussion, let's go around the set and introduce everyone. While we're doing that, why don't you in the audience reach out to a friend, ping them, and have them join us? We strive to make the digital download an interactive experience, as you know, and participation is highly encouraged. So, Tim, would you like to kick us off, please?
Yes, welcome. My name is Tim Hughes, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite, and I'm famous for writing the book Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers.
Excellent, Tim. Thank you for being there today. Adam?
Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Gray. I'm Tim's business partner and co-founder of DLA Ignite. And as you press to go live, I've got a new interface. Not seen this before. It says on air at the top.
It says on air at the top.
Yeah, which is very exciting, isn't it? So it feels like we're first time into this, even though clearly this is the longest weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Adam. So we're this is just the three of us today, which is great because we're gonna have the opportunity, I'm sure, to have some pretty interesting discussions. So, but let's start with a foundational question. So, why activity is the most dangerous and probably laziest KPI in modern sales? Who wants to pick this one?
Adam.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny because just this morning I was on a call, a 1 hour call with someone that I know at one of the very large tech companies that in fact lasted 2.5 hours. And this was one of the many things that we were discussing. And anybody that tunes into our content on socials, particularly on LinkedIn, will see we're often talking about this and the fact that the activity that you undertake is often the wrong activity. It's activity that is outdated and based on thinking from 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I think what's really interesting is that often organizations, even organizations that are much younger than that, are hampered by this kind of traditional sales structure. So I'm going to measure you on how busy you are, how many calls you make, how many emails you send, whatever these outbound activities are, rather than measuring you on the stuff that's actually important. So how many conversations are you having? How many deals are you forecasting that you're prepared to put your hand up and say, I guarantee this is going to happen, and how much revenue are you making? And this person was talking about the BDR function. And I've been having a number of conversations with organizations about BDRs within their business. And this particular function within the organization that this person is at, they're in public sector. And they said that the BDRs are so busy sending emails that the company has been universally blocked by a number of NHS trusts for spamming them with emails. And yet it's still a KPI. How many emails am I sending? How am I going to get you onto my cadencing tool and send you these regular emails? And I think what's really interesting about that conversation that I had was that it's absolute proof that when you do the wrong thing, it's not like it doesn't make things better. It actually makes things worse for you. And we know this. If you spam someone and you keep trying to call them, eventually they block you and they tell you that they don't ever want to talk to you again. And now we're seeing that at scale in this particular organization. And it makes them hitting their corporate KPIs more difficult as time goes by.
But that's quite interesting, because this is not a sole case. I would say probably, every single conversation I have on that very topic goes exactly into the same direction. We identify our targets, we scrap their mobile phone number, we scrap their email number, and then we put that in a sequence. So, and as you said, we know this is not working. So there's kind of a paradox, because this is not working, but this sounds as by the look of things, this is best practice, or this is seen as best practice, and actually is current practice.
But yes, I would say it was probably used by pretty much every single company in the world. And it's interesting because, this is the week that the new report from 6th Sense came out about the buying profiles. And I just had a difference of an opinion on LinkedIn with somebody, where they said my thinking was in the past. And so I said, well, in the parallel universe, in sales, that there is this parallel universe where actually sales teams are making their number. And if that means I'm in the past, then it's the side of history that I want to be on, because their solution is just to basically throw more shit at the wall and hope it sticks. Send out more stuff, and this is all based on hope. So if we look at the 6th Sense report, the buyer is now 60-70% of the way through the buying process before they actually talk to a salesperson. It's actually gone from 70 down to 60, but it doesn't really matter. And so the response to that is, what we're going to do is the marketing basically have to crank up the machine and send more emails, spend more money on brand, etc., hoping, because it's not a strategy, hoping that the buyer will basically say, oh, look, there's Adam. He looks like a decent chap. Let's put him on our shortlist. And it's just like, how has this ever been? How has throwing shit at the wall and hoping it will stick ever been best practice? What you need is a strategy. When they say buyers are basically making a decision to buy something, who gives them that? Who says, have you thought about changing your payroll system? Have you thought about a new new accounting system? Who does that? Somebody in that account who has trust, and I bet it's a salesperson, because they're motivated to do that. And then what the buyers do is they create a shortlist. So this is the one that we want, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they go out, they don't get information, they validate the decision.
Validate the decision they've already made.
Validate the decision. So the salesperson turns up and says, have you thought about a new payroll system? Now when you're a salesperson, you turn up. If you make calls and send emails, the people will just tell you to piss off, because they're not in market. So there has to be a way of actually going to organizations, building relationships of trust, seeing that you're a strategic advisor, and then they go, yeah, new payroll system, that sounds like good ideas. Ours is really rubbish. Let's go and validate that decision. And by the way, Adam, you're number 1 on the list.
I only wish I were, Tim.
And it's like, why isn't this best practice?
No, but interestingly, so this guy he's worked at a number of large tech organizations, and he's been in the current one for a few years now. And prior to this, he was at an organization that's famous for having an operating system and word processing and spreadsheet tools that many people choose to use. And he said that they used to have 6 monthly deal reviews. So, sorry, 6 monthly statuses. So the senior bods from the US would fly into the UK, and then there would be a whole day of people presenting their pipeline, where they are, where they're getting traction, what the likelihood, and they would have a granular look down into that. And he said, where he is now, everything is available on a dashboard. So what you do is you log into the dashboard and you look at it and you go, that all seems okay. And he said, and the problem is that previously, when he was at the other company, he said you would start at the beginning of the year and you'd forecast €500,000 as what you were going to close this year. And then when it came to the 6 monthly review, I'd say, Tim, how much are you still going to close $500,000? And you go, yeah, or you go, no, actually, I think it's only going to be 400,000 now. Okay, well, we've got a problem then, because, I put my neck on the block for and those things would be addressed. He said, now the problem with the dashboards is that it starts off at 500,000, and then tomorrow when you log in, it says 480, and tomorrow, the day after when you log in, it says 460, then it says 450, then it says 410, then it says 4 whatever. And gradually the number is whittled away, but it's whittled away in tiny little amounts, because the focus is not on performance. The focus is on speed of reporting of this stuff. And it was interesting how the conversation with this person developed, because so much of, and we joke about best practice as a company. We say, best practice is basically following what someone else has done and has worked for them. So it's not innovating. It's not getting ahead of the curve. It's literally following in someone else's footsteps. And it seems to give people a lot of confidence to copy somebody else that has had success. But it's fundamentally A, lazy, and B, ineffective as a way of doing things. Like we used to, and we got a call here from Chris early saying, a message rather, saying, how much are people failing by not picking up the phone enough as opposed to emailing? Well, picking up the phone is really important. Picking up the phone is a crucial thing to do. However, cold calling is not a good thing to do. As Mark,
it's not what elite sales teams do.
No, sorry. And the thing that's really interesting is Mark said, I'm blocking after 2 to 3 contacts. Yes. Yeah, so absolutely, you're blocking after you've had 2 or 3 cold calls, because it's intrusive, it's in your face, it's like somebody knocking on your door and then jamming their foot in your door and not letting you get away. So picking up the phone, if the person is expecting your call and actively looking forward to your call, is incredibly powerful. Calling somebody on spec is incredibly annoying. And we all know it, because we all get annoyed. Invariably, when you, Tim, are trying to cold call me, it's just as I'm running out of the door to go and get a train or something. I haven't got time for this stuff. And I think that the issue is that telephone is an incredibly powerful medium, and email is an incredibly powerful medium, but cold is an incredible turnoff. So cold emailing, cold calling is a really bad thing. And unfortunately, one of the key metrics that so often we're charging our salespeople with is this idea that your performance and your success is going to be based on how many emails you send. And it isn't ever. It's absolutely.
It's an input. It's not an output.
Yeah, it's based on how many emails are read and responded to is the key thing. And in order for, it's like every day, each of us receives 100 emails from people promising us the magic solution to our problem. The reason that I'm going to open your email is because it's you that sent it, not because of what it says. So that's the bit that we need to address.
But isn't there a difference, Adam and Tim, between your install base, where you can upsell, cross-sell, and you can say basically the relationship already exists between both companies in B2B. So you've sold once, therefore there is maybe using keeping close to your customers, basically. So calling, emailing, letting newsletters, new capabilities of your product, etc., is relevant versus. So what I'm trying to say is is there a difference between working towards your install base and acquiring new customers?
I often don't think there is until much further down the line. We all worked at Oracle, And if you got an email from somebody saying, "Hi, Bertrand, I've been working very closely with John Smith, who's based out of the Miami office and is in the whatever, the cloud computing area of the business. So I wondered if I could have a call with you." You'd say, "I've no idea who the hell you are. I've no idea who the hell he is. Why would I want to talk to you?" So I think that from that perspective, actually, the fact that my company has done business with your company really doesn't hold much weight. I think that what does hold weight is if I manage to build a relationship with you and we're having a conversation and you say to me, "So have you ever worked with a company like us before?" And I say, "Well, actually, I've worked for your company before, but in a different area, and here's what it is." So I'm used to navigating, the sale process within your business. You might go, "Okay, that does carry some weight." And I think that this is the point, isn't it? Relationship, as you always say, Tim, is people by people. It's a relationship-based thing. You're not going to believe a word I say until you know who I am. So that's the bit that we need to address first, the knowing the who I am bit, because no company ever sells successfully by saying, we're the third best, but we're a little bit more expensive than everyone else. Because why would you buy that? So every company says we're the one.
And I think that people are so still wedded to 1980 processes of cold calling and 1990 of sending spam emails that they don't ever pick their heads up and realize that there's something far more efficient and far more effective. And so, the thing is that we all know this because, I spend 20 minutes a day basically taking spam emails and creating rules so that they and everything stays the same. I've got a wonderful, buy my product because we're great. I've got this wonderful whatever. And it's the same. I mean, I don't take cold calls because it's always the people are crooks, and they tried to sell me broadband, and I said, you do realize you'd need to dig up 3/4 of a mile of concrete, and it would cost you £350,000 to basically relay that. They said, yeah, just sign the contract. These people are crooks when they ring it. So we don't take cold calls. So the fact of the matter is we're in this situation where those things are just no longer effective, which is why people are measuring them, because they're having to make more and more and more of them. And I've told this story on here before about Vidyard, where one of the people that we trained in social selling basically went there, and he's known to do 35 meetings a week, 35 ICP meetings a week. He complains he hasn't got enough time for the meetings that he has with the with the clients. No one else in the world is making that number of meetings. So when he went to Vidyard, basically he was doing 10 a week. And he said, so that's pretty good. They said, yeah. He said, I still get kicked because I'm not making enough phone calls and sending enough emails. And I said, what does the rest of the sales team, what are they doing? He said, well, they're generally, if they're making one a week, they're doing really well. So here we're in a situation where this person's doing 10. This other person is doing 1. So the person who's doing 1 rings him up and says, what cadence are you using? But cadence, like, no. This is about going out and building relationships and trust, and I can get 10 meetings a week. But they never said, the guy that's doing 10 meetings a week, why don't we see what he's doing? And in the end, basically, he said, I can't be bothered with this. And then they shut the whole of the European arm of Vidyard because of the fact that they were measuring the wrong thing.
But you said about the Sixth Sense report coming out, and I wrote a post about this a few days ago. And so the Sixth Sense report has come out, 2025, outlining how buyer behavior has changed, which follows on the Sixth Sense report from 2024, showing that buyer behavior has changed, following CEB and Gartner and Sixth Sense and WPP and PwC and all of these people saying the buyer has moved. The
McKinsey say it. Yeah.
Completely different way to how they behaved even a decade. So to prove how valid that is, we train people on spin selling from 1998, Medic from 1990, solution selling from 1994, Medpic from 1996, Snap from 2010, and Challenger from 2011, all of which have elements that are still relevant, but largely are outmoded because how people choose to spend their time, how they do their research, and how they discover things is completely different now. So what we need to have a behavior and a strategy which reflects how people behave today, not how they behaved 40 years ago, because it just doesn't make any sense, does it?
It doesn't. Sorry.
We have a comment from Flo. Hi, Flo.
Hi, Flo.
Care is an essential component of trust. Trading relationships for cadence doesn't build care nor trust.
No.
Well, I think we'll agree with that. But now, if you are a sales rep and you kind of trapped into that environment where you're forced to do things, how can you break free, basically?
It reminds me of the Queen video with
hoovering.
Freddie Mercury with the Hoover going, "I want to break free." Sorry.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you're joking about it, but the reality is that when you are being held to account for particular behaviors that are so embedded in the organization, they come down from the very top, don't they? We want to drive more revenue, therefore you need to make more cold calls and send more emails. And it's just, it's a ludicrous assumption. And there are so many of these anomalies in sales. So, every salesperson wants to fail. Every salesperson wants to fail. Clearly, that's why they go into an ultra competitive area of business, because they want to fail. So what we'll do is, because they're quite perfectly happy sitting at 80%, so what we'll do is we'll increase their quota by 30%. And then if they miss it by 20%, they're going to make the number we really need them to get. No, salespeople spend all day being rebuffed and told no by people that they're trying to sell to. It's a really difficult job to do. It's really pressured, and they're working absolutely flat out to try to achieve something. So to assume the way you get better performance is simply by ratcheting it up. Tim, you need to do 10% more cold calls next month.
I've known that for 30 years.
It's tragic. And it trivializes the role that sales play, which is the most important role in business, because without them, nothing happens. And it also, it assumes that these people are lazy and they just need whipping harder, which is rarely the case.
I left an organization because they ratcheted they took my target from 1 to 2 million. I said, it's not physically possible. I said, I'm working 68 hours a week already.
Yeah.
I said, what do you want? And they said, no, it's everybody's targets go up. I said, okay, right, why?
Yeah. And
they lost their top salesman.
Yeah, and it's incredibly sad that it's so short-sighted that leadership within organizations, particularly sales leadership within organizations, don't say, clearly what we're doing isn't working. There's a better way of doing this.
So Adam, got a question for you. So how do you build? So let's, if we take Flo's comment now that care is essential a component of trust. Trading relationship for cadence doesn't build care nor trust. How do we build trust at scale? So how do we build pipeline at scale fast? Because that's the number one question that all sales leaders are wanting. They say, I understand what you're saying, but it sounds like fluff to me. I can get my sales team, they can get on the phone, they can start cranking the handle, they can start making calls, they'll start building pipeline. So how do I build pipeline fast and build trust fast?
Well, I think that there's quality as well as speed. So in the old days, the way that you would build relationships and trust is you would physically go and meet people. You would go and knock on doors, or you would go to events, or you would go to networking groups, or whatever it was, and you would meet your prospects, and they would get to know you. And fundamentally, the problem with that is that it's very costly. It's costly of my time to go to these events. It's costly of your time to go to those events. And there's a huge There's a very small overlap in this Venn diagram that you and I will be at the same event. And when we layer on top of that the fact that 19 out of every 20 buyers are not in market to buy now, it means that we get a very low strike rate from that, particularly in the modern world. But if you take that methodology about meeting people, being yourself, asking questions, smiling a lot, and you transfer that into the digital world, then you can very quickly build a network of exactly the people that you want to be talking to. So bearing in mind that whether you like it or not, sales is to a greater or lesser extent a numbers game. If you look at the number of people that you're connected to on social, let's say LinkedIn, let's say you've got 2,000 connections and probably 90% of them are in the wrong place. So if the 2,000 connections, you've got 200 of them are people that you'd like to be having a conversation with today. And then you go and you connect to 100 new people every single week. By this time next year, you're going to have 5,400 people that are your ICPs that are within your network. And along that journey, you are inevitably going to happen to be in the right place at the right time. You put your best foot forward, and the fundamental win of this over and above other ways of prospecting is that if I send you an email and you read the email and you're not in market to buy, what can I do on an ongoing basis to make sure that I'm front of mind when you are ready to buy? Because if I send you an email every single week,
put you in a marketing nurturing group.
Yeah. Same
as Tracy said. Tracy, who often joins us, said it's not nurturing if there's no relationship.
Exactly. And if I phone you and we have a really good conversation and I say, let's keep in touch, and I want to remain front of mind, there comes a point when literally I cannot make more phone calls in a week for people that I've spoken to that I want to keep in that kind of nurturing or relationship alive. But the beauty of social is that I can do one post that talks to everybody I've connected to. So today that's 200 ICPs. This time next year it's 5,400 ICPs. So I know that 5% of those people are going to be in market. So 5% of 5,400 is quite a sizable number of people that I will be showing myself to them at just the right time. So the beauty of this is that when people are making the right kind of noise, you can approach them in a friendly way. And unlike calling or emailing, if they say now is not the time, it actually doesn't matter because they're already in your network and they're going to continue to be engaged and hopefully educated and enchanted by your content on an ongoing basis. And the beauty of this is that every day that goes past, every week that goes past, every month that goes past, you're likely to yield more and more benefit from posting and engaging with the audience that you've already built.
So in effect, because it's 2020, we're recording this in 2025. You've got a choice. You can stay in the analog world of cold calling and sending spam, or you can
going to events and all of that other stuff,
or going to events and all of those analog things.
Yeah.
Or in 2025, you could move into the digital world.
Yeah, and it's not just the fact that you can do it from your own home office. It's the fact that every single person you add to your network is another person that might be consuming your content, is another prospect that you can keep nurturing and keep educating and keep showing yourself to on an ongoing basis. So the post that you did a month ago is not going to be as valuable as the post that you do in a month's time because your network will have been bigger and you will have engaged more people along the journey. So the reason for not doing it, there is no rationale for doing anything other than this today.
So there's a couple of things. One is I understand that. So if we're a buyer and we're going out to market, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to look at the people that we know, like, and trust.
Yep. And
probably those people are going to be front of mind. I remember Adam, he wrote a really good article about changing payroll systems, about global payroll systems. That was really interesting. I'll go and see what he's like. He looks you up. Now, I got somebody send me a connection request this morning that said, I help CEOs create financial freedom by creating a real estate portfolio. Now, if I'd accepted his connection request and I didn't, what do you think would happen?
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. So it's like you've got this big, there's this like big sign. He's got this big sign saying, once I basically,
Flashing.
I'm going to get you in an arm lock and I'm going to punch you until you buy something. It's like, I'm not in that game, mate. I don't want to be a piece of meat in your CRM. This is, and so, but that's what most people look like. And it's got worse. The people, the worse the market gets, the more people go, hey, this is me, buy my stuff.
But from the buyer's perspective, right? You would rather be spammed on social than spammed by email. Because if I send you a connection request and you don't like the look of me, you can just go no, and you're not going to see me again.
Yeah.
So I think everyone
I can block on social. I can block you. Whereas I know I get these people constantly going, I'm moving it up to the top of your inbox. Like, no, it's just the rules aren't working to get rid of you. Google basically allows certain amount. There's a thing anyway. So one of the things is you're connecting to people. So if I'm in market or thinking about the really interesting thing about the sixth sense is that a person isn't in market until they're 60-70% of the way through the process. So if someone is 40% of the way through the process, they're validating their decision. You phone them up, they say they're not in market. Yeah. So the salesperson says that's a no, even though they're 50% of the way through the buying process. Right.
And salesperson probably won't phone them again.
And the salesperson won't phone them again because all they do is, do you want to buy? No. Do you want to buy? No. Do you want to buy? Yes. Well, here's a demo. So that's one thing. So when we, as a buyer, when I've come to your LinkedIn profile, what happens is that if I see social proof that you are interesting and you can help me, I will actually invite you into the organization. Because of the fact that in most cases, I know that you know more than I do. So if I'm buying a payroll system, we probably haven't bought one for 15 years. I may have been bought in because I bought one before, but you probably know more about it than I do. I've been out of the cloud market for 10 years. There's a lot that I don't know about cloud. There's a lot I do know. But if I went back to work for Oracle, I'd have to sit there for a couple of weeks, basically listening to people, because they were experts and do it every day. So they would invite you in. So if you're a trusted advisor, you're then on the inside track. Yeah. So there's a number of, so we know that we can go out and forge relationships on social. We know that people can basically come to us. But that's basically seen as inbound, and for many sales leaders, it's kind of not proper sales because it's like inbound.
So
if I wanted to, so how do I? So if we're thinking about cold calling, how do we basically build and get meetings? So if we take, let's pick a name out of our hat, Jordan. If we take Jordan basically and say he made 35 meetings a week, high quality ICP meetings a week, and we take David Pugsley, who's at Salesforce, who we've talked about before, who's making 7 high quality ICP meetings a week. How are they doing that? No fluff.
Yeah. Okay. So what they're doing is they have saved a search for people that are their ideal customer profile. So that will be within target companies, target territories, and a target level within an organization. And they will be connecting at scale to these people, sending every one of them a connection request that says something like, "Hi, Tim, I found you. You look really cool. Is it all right if we connect?" Nothing more than that, because at this point, you don't know me from Adam. So for me to pitch you my products and services makes no sense at this point.
And the key thing is in all of this is to basically not be a threat.
Exactly.
And not to be the guy that says, I help CEOs build a retail portfolio.
Yeah. So
he's a threat to me.
So once someone has connected, you send them a note that says, "Thanks for connecting. and nothing more than that at this stage. Because you're hoping that when you send someone a personalized connection request, they say, oh, I looked at your profile too. That's really cool. Maybe we should have a chat. Great. So they're doing the work for you. You send them a note that says, thanks for connecting. Have a good weekend. And they say, yeah, you have a good weekend too. You say, I will, because I'm going to do such and such this weekend. How about you? And maybe you can get them into a conversation. Maybe you can't. And then you leave it for a while and you say, been connected for a little while now. I would love to have a call with you to hear what it is that you do, because it looks like it's quite interesting stuff. And then your objective is to go on the call to let them talk. Because if I say to you, hi, Tim, can I have a call, please, so I can explain what it is I do? That's very unattractive. If I say, hi, Tim, can I have a call with you so you can explain what it is you do? That's quite a lot more attractive. So basically, you get them on a call and you let them talk. And then during the course of that conversation, you are hoping that they will say to you, anyway, that's enough about me. Why don't you tell me what you do? Because at that point, you've earned the right to expect them to listen when you speak. Because when you pick up can I just have 2 minutes of your, no, I need to go. But this really is going to be super quick. It's like they haven't earned the right to speak. So whatever they say isn't going to be listened to. And that's what these guys have done. And then you send that message out. If you're connecting to 100 people a week, all of them are your ICPs, and you say to all of them, we've been connected now for a little while. It'd be great if we could have a chat. I'd love to hear what it is you do. That's the point of networking, isn't it? 20% will say yes. So if you send out 100 a week, that's 20, 30, 40 people will say, yes, I'll take a call with you. And what you're hoping for with this is not that you can maneuver somebody into a position where they'll let you speak, or maneuver somebody into a position where they'll buy, or beat somebody into submission. What you're hoping is that during the course of that conversation, you say to them, yeah, because this is what we do. And they go, oh my God, that's exactly what we need. Because that's the low-hanging fruit. That's where the pot of gold is at the end of this particular rainbow. You can make somebody buy something if you try hard enough. You can load it up with a series of rationales as to why they should buy your product or service. But nothing is more attractive than when somebody says to you, that sounds like it's exactly what we need now. Can you come and help us? And let's be honest, that's how we've got all of our clients. It's exactly through that process, isn't it?
Bertrand, sorry.
No, so what you're explaining, Adam, is basically what we've always done in B2B. That is engaging early. But what I am hearing from what you say is that you can do that digitally.
Yeah, because
that's kind of the big surprise.
Yeah, but I think that the key point here is that when you walk into a room with 100 people in it, in a face-to-face environment, you walk into a room with 100 people in it, not all of those people are going to love you. Some will and some won't. Mm-hmm. And actually what you are looking for is the people that will love you, the people that will say, I like what you're saying here. I trust you. Can you show me how that works? Because those are the people that make good clients. People that you can bamboozle into buying from you are always problem clients. People that say, I love this. This sounds like a really great idea. Whatever the great idea is, your new payroll system. This sounds like this will save us a fortune. It will. You're quite right. Well, how quickly can you install it? That's what every seller wants to hear. And that is simply about being a nice person. And you said that's what we've always done in B2B. That's what human beings have always done to build relationships. Chat to someone and say, why don't you tell me what you do? That's interesting. What do you do when you're not at work? Oh, that's it.
Play the guitar.
Yeah, oddly. How did you guess?
You play it oddly.
Indeed.
So that's a pretty, although all of that sounds like, and maybe I'm making another statement here, but it really sounds like common sense.
Well, and that's, yeah, that's the funny thing. So I don't know how many times Tim and I have presented, and you now, Bertrand, have presented to organizations and said, to do this is really simple. You create a great personal brand, a great footprint on the internet, and then you do three things. You connect to the people that you want to influence, you engage with the people that you want to influence, and then you publish content about them, content about what you do, and content about who you are. And you publish that on a regular, ongoing basis, and never have we ever got feedback other than, well, yeah, duh, that's so straightforward and obvious. And that's the point. It's easy. Well, no, it's simple, but not easy.
So one of the things, though, Adam, is that, and I was talking to an organization, and they said, our CRO said, you're wasting your time. To me, I said, what's that? I said, well, our CRO says that the reason why there's like a global recession, it's because all the salespeople spend all their time playing on social media.
Yep.
And I said, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I said, yeah. And if you stop playing on social media and actually had a process that you follow,
change the outcome,
a methodology where if you do this, you do this, you do this, you get an outcome rather than. I watched there's a video about creating content that I'm on a LinkedIn creator program, and they said you must watch this program about creating content. And in all the discussions, the person from LinkedIn, and they had all of these customers that they were talking to, they said, "What are you trying out on LinkedIn?" And it's like, okay, I understand that you need to it's great experimenting and trying things out, but the fact of the matter is nobody knew. And it's like, well, actually, we've been doing this for 10 years and we know exactly what you need to do. So you could actually cut out all of that playing around, and just if you just do this, and this, and you know, it would just be so much simpler.
But it's like it's like when people talk about, you know, I've hacked the algorithm, I've worked out how to go viral. It's like it's some ploy. It's a Ponzi scheme, isn't it? Where you're hoping that I don't have to do any work and I can get all of the results. And we know from some of the people that we've worked with as trainees over the years that something going viral delivers zero tangible benefit. Yeah, you get lots of views, but views don't pay the bills.
Yeah, we were in a presenting to a company the other day, and it came up with what were the not views
impressions.
Yeah. And we explained to them that impressions,
it's not what you think it is.
Everyone I got 3,000, I got 300,000 impressions, and we explained to them what an impression was, and they went, that's useless. I said, yeah, it's meaningless. They said, yeah, but that's what our marketing agency.
That's a KPI.
Yeah, but that's what our marketing agency is. We're paying money to get impressions. I said, yeah, you are. Yeah, and it's completely wasted time.
Yeah,
it's meaningless.
Yeah, and it is really interesting, isn't it? Because so many of these things we're told these are really important. So, you know, you're told that impressions are valuable. You've told that likes are valuable. Now, don't get me wrong, likes are more valuable than impressions, because if it's liked by loads of people, it'll be shown to more people. But it's like, you know, it gets loads of likes. I stare at the phone doesn't ring.
Explain to everybody what an impression is.
Yeah, so an impression means that your post or part of your post has been served to a viewer. So technically, it means that more than one pixel has loaded for more than 1/60th of a second. So basically, if you open LinkedIn on your phone and you just scan through as quickly as you possibly can, everything that passes through your screen counts as an impression, even though not only have you not read the post, you haven't even noticed the post, let alone who the post is from and what the post is about. So every one of those counts as an impression. So the reality is that you think that 1,000 impressions means that 1,000 people have dwelt on your post and read it and just haven't plucked up the courage to drop a like. Well, maybe they have, but probably they haven't. So the reality of this is that what matters is something that you can actually action. So likes are only good if you choose to then message the person that has left the like saying, thanks for liking my post.
So Carol Jean Whittington has come up with a comment, which I'm going to paraphrase. It said, so what are the best metrics to use? So to go back to what you were saying, likes are kind of interesting, but the thing about a like is you actually know who's liked it. With an impression, or that you could, if you want to have a laugh, is that you just take your LinkedIn profile and your timeline and just go like that, because everyone's just got an impression. The fact that you're looking over there and you're not actually looking and seeing what's
so your last post, Tim, it was seen because you used to work at Oracle. Your post was seen by 250 people at Oracle. How many people work at Oracle?
300,000.
Okay, so which 250 viewed your post?
No idea.
Exactly.
So
that's the fundamental shortcut.
So if we worked out that impressions aren't really worth anything.
Yep.
So if we take likes and comments, why are likes and comments important?
Okay, so first of all, if your comment gets likes, it means that it will be shown to other people that are in the network of the person that's liked it. Because if you look at your own news feed, half of the content is from people that you're connected to, and half of the content is from people you're not connected to, and you're seeing it because people you are connected to are liking it. So that means that if one of your posts is liked by somebody, it will be shown to other people that's connected to. That's like the network effect of you getting engagement on your post. That's really good because more people are going to see this, and you're much more likely to view a post if somebody that you know and like and trust has engaged with it.
But if we take likes and comments, what they're doing when they're liking and commenting is that they're saying, I digitally resonate with this post.
Your post. Yeah.
So you have an opportunity to do two things. One, if you're not connected to the people, you can basically write to them and say, hi, Carol, thanks for coming on to the digital download. Hope you got something out of the show. Hope you tune in next week. Can we connect? Which isn't threatening at all. Or if I know Carol and I'm connected to Carol, what I could do is I could send her a connection request and say, thanks for tuning into the download. Loved your questions that you asked. Why don't we get on a call?
So I've just actually gone on to the comments, and I'm really sorry. And so Andrew Slesser has made loads of comments on here, some of which are funny.
Andrew's never come through.
No, so I've no idea why that is. So we're not ignoring you, Andrew. So
Andrew, your comments don't come through, and I don't know what it is.
So Carol Jean has asked, what's the best way to use likes, comments, and saves to re-engage? So Tim has basically laid that out for you. If you're not connected, you send them a note saying, thanks for liking the post, or thanks for commenting on this or this live stream. So Tim, if he's not connected to you, will probably send you a note that says, thanks for engaging with the post. Is it right if we connect?
I'm at 30,000, but yeah, okay.
And the reason that you would do that is that if the person has already engaged with your post, they've shown you that they like your content, and therefore they're more likely to like your content because your content resonates with them.
So working back, Carol, is that if you put out content which is threatening to me, so this guy that basically sent me a connection request today, I help CEOs create their with real estate. All his profile was about how he helps CEOs basically get with real estate, and therefore each post is threatening, because I know if I like or I comment on it, what's going to happen is the next day he's going to send me a connection request, said you liked the fact that Adam has now got a real estate portfolio and is financially independent. How about if I do this for you? Whereas if we put out a piece of content that Carol, Jean, basically what you're doing is, here I am walking the dog, here I am in the woods, which is where this creates inspiration. What you're doing is that you're putting out something that's non-threatening, and people will engage with that, like, comment, and then you've got that opportunity to go and have conversations with them. Now, clearly, you've got to there's a number of things that got to be in place. If my friend from financially independent real estate starts putting out, here I am, this is the building that creates me inspiration, I'm unlikely to because I've already read his LinkedIn profile, and I know that he's just going to try and sell me something. So the key thing is that on your LinkedIn profile, it's not about this is what I sell and this is how great I am. This is about here I am windsurfing. This is me and my family. This is really means something to me. What I've got to do is I've got to see something about you and see that as a non-threatening environment. Otherwise, I'm not going to engage. So there are other metrics that I can work through if you want me to pick those off. So we talked earlier on what you need to do in terms of the metrics. So it's from a sales perspective, you should be measuring your salespeople on how many people that they're connecting to. And if there's anybody in sales here, if your sales leadership must be during account reviews or any review at all, you must be looking at the number of people that are connected in an account. And I would say in most deals, if you're not connected to 10 people in the account, there's a risk. So there's a number of connection requests that you're sending out and the percentage of that you've been accepted. If you're not getting an acceptance rate of anything, if your acceptance rate is anything less than 60%, you have a problem. Because you and then you need to be measuring your sorry, Bertrand, are you asking a question or do you want me to do this?
No, yeah, well, I wanted to ask a question, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So you've got an opportunity to send 200 connection requests on LinkedIn. That's ample time if in terms of, so you should be sending at least 200 connection requests. You should be getting 60% of those responded to. From that, you should be getting at least 10% meetings. And then also what you need to be measuring is the content that you're putting out, how often you're putting content, and the likes and comments that you're putting out on the content. Because part of that will be down to, if you put something out about here I am in the woods, these create my inspiration, because it's non-threatening, you'll get more comments and more likes, and you've got more opportunity to go and have conversations with people. Bertrand.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask one last question before we close and kind of wrap up all of this. So there is obviously a mindset change that you need to go through, right? To move away from, to go back to the basics, I would say, which is, we do business with people we like and trust. So obviously, and what I'm hearing is that we can do that digitally, and especially for instance, using
at scale, yeah,
using LinkedIn and at scale. But how do you manage your short-term objective? In knowing that you want to do that change, but you still have the pressure has not disappeared. That's what I mean. So,
but I think we're starting.
How do you organize the shift?
Yeah, we're starting from a place where the bar is set very low. So you call 100 people a day, you get through to one person. Most of those people don't want to talk to you. You send 100 emails, you get no response. So actually, to be orders of magnitude better than that doesn't require you to get very much. There isn't the necessity to get very much traction to achieve that. So the person that I was talking to this morning, they were talking about a BDR function in one of the organizations, and there are 10 people in the BDR function, and over the course of the last 12 months they set 360 opportunities, 12 of which closed. So basically one opportunity per rep per year, and the amount of effort required to achieve that, and these are BDR started opportunities, so these are relatively low value opportunities. And so the opportunity exists to fundamentally remap how organizations go to market, recognizing that the activities that they're doing, the activities that are being driven through the organization are not the activities that reflect the modern buyer's desires. And I think that's the key thing. When we're able to map one against the other, buyers want a low pressure, friendly, educational environment where they can learn things that make their lives easier. So if you've been selling accounting systems all your life, Tim, You probably know everything there is to know about accounting systems. Therefore, anybody that works in an organization that wants to know about buying accounting systems and implementing accounting systems and what the value proposition for a good accounting system might be can talk to you, whether they're going to buy your product or not.
I can whiteboard an implementation of an accounting system in my sleep.
Yeah. And it will be in their sleep as well, probably. Because it's not the most exciting of things. But joking aside,
and supply chain, I can do that as well.
But the point is that there's a huge amount of value in talking to these people, and I think that so often when you think about how sales is structured, you've got someone who's inexperienced, someone who's young in the BDR function, who's reaching out to senior people to have a conversation with them, and like, what is the value exchange that goes on there? I'm going to phone you up. I don't really know that much about my product. I don't know that much about your business. I'm going to phone you up and I'm going to qualify you in or out. And if I qualify you in, then I'm going to get my colleague Tim, who's the guy you really should have been speaking to in the first place, and he's going to speak to you. It's like, what incentive is there for the buyer to take that call? Whereas if Tim phones up and says, I'm Mr. Accounting System, any questions you've got, we can have a chat about it. I'll think, actually, what's the worst that can happen? 30 minutes on the phone to him, I might learn something. And probably will.
I saw someone yesterday, and there are a couple. When I first started selling, I sold payroll systems. And I've interviewed one on my podcast, but there's somebody else who basically calling themselves a payroll influencer. And I know salespeople that don't understand why their company isn't promoting them in effect as not Kim Kardashian influencers, but people of influence that know their stuff.
Yeah,
because Max, who I've interviewed, he knows so much about. He's 30 and he knows loads about global payroll, and he's non-threatening. So if you wanted to know anything about global payroll, you go to Max. Max is solopreneur, and Max will sell you consultancy. And it's like it's just an easy thing. Well, let's get Max in. Come and talk to us. Because he's non-threatening and he knows loads of stuff, and he's Dutch and he's got a great accent and why don't and he's got a name that you can't pronounce, which is why everybody calls him Max.
Well, guys, sorry.
And Carol Jean, just so you know, you asked about that. You can send 200 connection requests a week. You should be getting a 60% acceptance rate, and I would say you should be getting 20% is a bit high. I would say if you'll get 10% of those people should be accepting to go course. So on the benchmark that we run, we would expect probably about 10% to get calls. And from those 10%, we would expect about a 34% next action.
But I think the key thing, Carol Jean, is to remember that if you're not getting those kind of results, it's because something in the process isn't working. So like if you're sending 200 connection requests and 60% of people aren't accepting, maybe more, maybe you might get 90%, but if you're not getting a reasonable acceptance rate on that, it's because either the way you're asking to connect is not right, or the way you appear, so how you've dressed your profile, is not right. And if you address those things, you will get that response. And then when you're asking people for a call, if you're not getting 60% of people saying, yeah, I'll take a call with you, then it's because you're not asking in the right way.
Gentlemen, this has been great. I hope Carol has got her answers, at least first level answers from the discussion. Well, thank you very much. That was great. As much as I like the discussion, we've got unfortunately to stop here, but maybe we'll take this back shortly next time. Just before we leave, we have a newsletter. Sorry, Adam, you miscanned the QR.
That's so much better.
Everything's got better now. Yeah, thanks.
You should go up and put your hands over the top. Right?
You may scan the QR code on screen or visit us at digitaldownload.live/newsletter. Thank you very much, gentlemen. See you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.